The motorcycle world is full of advice. Some good, most repeated, and a whole lot of it flat out wrong. Ask 10 riders a question and you'll get 15 answers, and at least 5 of them will be complete garbage disguised as common knowledge. The worst part, a lot of these misconceptions come from people who mean well, but have no idea what they're talking about. Or worse, they've just been repeating what they heard from someone else. And if you're new to riding, it's almost impossible to tell what's legit and what's leftover campfire wisdom from 1976. So today we're cutting through the noise. These are the motorcycle misconceptions that everybody believes, but need to stop spreading. Because bad info doesn't just waste your money, it gets people hurt, frustrated, or scared off bikes entirely. Let's set the record straight. Number 1. Loud pipes save lives. This one needs to die. Not because it's annoying, not because it gives riders a bad name, but because it teaches people the exact opposite of what keeps them alive. Let's be clear, yes, loud pipes can make people notice you, sometimes. But if your safety plan relies on sound, you're doing it wrong. Because sound is unreliable. Some drivers will hear you, most won't. Between closed windows, music, phones, and today's ultra-quiet cabins, the idea that you can count on noise to protect you is pure fantasy. But here's the real danger of this myth. It conditions riders and drivers to rely on hearing instead of awareness. If you're telling new riders, "Don't worry, people will hear you," you're training them to expect the road to react to them. That's lethal thinking. Worse, it teaches drivers the same garbage. "I didn't hear a bike coming," they'll say after cutting you off. Well, no kidding. You shouldn't expect to hear a damn thing. That's the mindset we need to destroy, because not all bikes are loud. Not all vehicles make noise, and in a few years, almost none of them will. Riding safe means treating every road user like they're deaf and distracted, because many of them are. Sound should never be part of the safety equation. If hearing a bike is what saves you, someone else already failed. And for every life saved by a lucky rev, how many were lost because someone was taught to depend on sound and didn't hear the bike that mattered? You can't teach luck, and you sure as hell can't teach safety by convincing people that noise is protection. So no, loud pipes don't save lives. Smart riding does. Number 2. You'll outgrow a 300cc bike in a month. This one gets pushed hard, especially by riders who think engine size equals experience. The idea that if you start on a 300, you'll be bored in a week and ready to upgrade in a month. It sounds like wisdom. It's not. It's ego talking. A 300cc bike isn't something you outgrow. It's something you learn to ride well. It teaches throttle control, brake discipline, cornering finesse. It's light, forgiving, and honest. And until you can push it to its limits, and I mean actually lean in it, brake hard, carry corner speed, and manage momentum, you haven't outgrown anything. You're just getting started. The truth is, most riders never come close to riding a 300 to its potential. They just get impatient, start drooling over leader bikes, and convince themselves they've outgrown something they never really mastered. Then they buy too much bike, ride scared, and either ride less or crash more. And here's the kicker. 300s aren't just for beginners. They're fun as hell when you know what you're doing. You can thrash them without constantly checking your speed. You can go full throttle without risking jail time. And in the right hands, a 300 will embarrass a 1000 in the twisties every single time. If you're buying a bike just to impress people, sure, skip the 300 and buy something you can't control. But if you're buying a bike to become a better rider, the 300 isn't the training wheels, it's the foundation. Outgrowing a bike isn't about engine size, it's about skill. And if you think 300s are boring, the bike's not the problem. You are. Number 3. Real riders don't need ABS. This one comes straight from the ego factory. The idea that anti-lock brakes are for new riders, weak riders, or people who don't know how to really control a bike. The people who say this usually have 2 things in common. They've never actually tested their braking limits, And they think pride is more important than physics. Here's the truth. ABS isn't about riding skill. It's about human limitation. In a panic stop, your reflexes don't get better because you've ridden longer. You don't become a robot. You still overbrake. You still panic. And if the road is wet, sandy, or uneven, you're still human. And human error locks wheels. ABS doesn't stop you from learning brake control. Doesn't make you lazy. It doesn't do the work for you. It just prevents one specific disaster. A locked up tire that throws you off the bike or sends you sliding into oncoming traffic. And here's what most people forget. Modern ABS systems are invisible until they're needed. You never feel them in day-to-day riding. But when something unexpected happens, deer, distracted driver, oil patch, they step in without asking. And they give you a second chance that your reaction time wasn't gonna provide. Do MotoGP bikes have ABS? No. Do road bikes ridden by people with jobs, kids, and potholes to dodge need it? Absolutely. If you think ABS makes you soft, ask yourself this. Are you so confident in your own skill that you're willing to bet your life you'll never lock up your front tire in an emergency? No one's too good for ABS. Some people are just too stubborn to admit it. Number 4. You have to baby the engine for the first 1,000 miles. This myth has been passed down like scripture. Ride gently, shift early. Never rev past 4,000 RPM for the first 1,000 miles or you'll ruin the engine forever. It sounds responsible, cautious, mechanical. But the truth is, it's outdated and often flat out wrong. The idea comes from an era when engine tolerances were looser, machining was less precise, and manufacturing quality was inconsistent. Back then, yeah, you needed a gentle break-in to let everything wear in properly. But modern engines, they're built with microscopic tolerances, better metallurgy, and computer-controlled assembly lines. They're cleaner, tighter, and stronger than anything from 30 years ago. And guess what? Many mechanics, race teams, and engine builders will tell you the exact opposite. You should run the engine hard early, under load, through the rev range, using compression and deceleration to seat the rings properly. Babying the engine can actually cause glazing, which prevents the rings from ever sealing fully. That means lower power and higher oil consumption forever. Now, this doesn't mean redline it out of the dealership, but it does mean you shouldn't ride like you're scared to hurt it. Vary your RPMs, use engine braking, apply load, heat cycle the engine properly, because that's how real-world break-in actually works. Want to see the truth? Check how manufacturers break in engines for dyno testing. Hint, they don't ride them like grandmas for 1,000 miles. If you want your engine to perform like it should, break it in like you mean it. Carefully, yes, but not cowardly. Number 5. Chicken strips mean you're not a real rider. This one's peak parking lot nonsense. You're at a bike meet. Someone glances at your tires, sees a clean edge, and immediately assumes you don't know how to lean. Look at those chicken strips, they joke, as if their scrubbed-in edges make them faster, tougher, or somehow better. Let's set the record straight. Chicken strips mean nothing. Your tire wear tells a story, but without context, it's a useless story. Tire profile, suspension setup, riding conditions, and even your tire pressure all affect where your contact patch goes. A guy riding twisties on a flat tire might scrub the whole edge. A rider carving with proper inflation and good body position might leave a half inch untouched. Who's riding better? Some bikes, like ADV or touring models, will never use the full tire on the street because of geometry alone. Others, like supermotos, use tons of lean with barely any edge contact. And don't even get started on track riders. Some of them leave strips on fresh tires during cool-down laps or out-laps and could still ride circles around your entire group. The real problem with this myth, it encourages people to lean just for the look, to chase edge wear instead of control. That's how riders end up over-leaning in cold weather, wet roads, or blind corners, trying to prove something to people who wouldn't notice a real technique if it slapped them in the visor. You want a badge of honor? Ride smooth, ride smart, ride home. Your sidewalls don't need to be worn to the edge to prove a damn thing. Number 6. Horsepower's everything. Torque doesn't matter. This one gets parroted constantly, especially by sport bike guys throwing around dyno numbers like they're stock tips. It makes 200 horsepower at 13,000 RPM. Cool, but what's it doing at 4,000 when you're trying to pass a truck in 6th gear? The obsession with peak horsepower is completely disconnected from how real riders ride in the real world. Horsepower is a calculated figure. Torque times RPM divided by 5,252. It tells you what the engine's doing at redline. Torque? Torque is what moves the damn bike. Torque is what you feel off the line. It's what lets you roll on the throttle mid-corner without having to downshift 3 times. It's what makes a 900cc twin feel stronger than a 600cc 4-cylinder, because it is. Everywhere but the spec sheet. The reason torque gets ignored is simple. It's harder to brag about. It's not a flashy number, doesn't make headlines, and it doesn't give you the illusion of speed unless you're bouncing off the limiter in 2nd gear. But ask anyone who's done real-world touring, commuting, or canyon riding. Torque wins. Especially when you're not trying to ride like an idiot the whole time. That's why bikes like the MT-07, the Africa Twin, or the Speed Twin feel alive. Not because they make big horsepower numbers, but because they put usable torque in the part of the rev range where you actually live. Horsepower sells bikes. Torque sells grins. Learn the difference. Number 7. You need to let your bike idle for 10 minutes before riding. This one's been passed down from garage to garage like it's gospel. Start your bike, let it idle until it's warm, then ride. Some guys swear their engines will explode if they touch the throttle too soon. They'll sit there revving it gently, sipping coffee, thinking they're doing the machine a favor. They're not. They're just wasting time and putting unnecessary wear on their engine. Modern motorcycles are fuel-injected, computer-controlled, and designed to be ridden, not idled. The ECU enriches the mixture when cold, adjusts the timing, and brings the revs up automatically. All you need to do is start it, give it 30 seconds to settle, and then ride off gently. That's it. Moving the bike under light load warms up the oil, the gearbox, the tires, and the brakes way faster than letting it idle in the driveway. In fact, long idling does more harm than good. It can cause uneven fuel wash on the cylinder walls, lead to carbon buildup in the exhaust and combustion chamber, and leave you sitting in a cloud of your own exhaust for no reason. Not to mention, it's annoying to everyone around you. This myth is a leftover from the carbureted era when bikes really did stumble and stall if you didn't let them wake up slowly. But those days are gone. Today's bikes are smarter than the people still giving this advice. Start it, let it settle, ride smooth for a few miles. That's how you warm up a bike the right way. Number 8. Aftermarket exhaust equals more power. This one's practically a religion. Slap on an aftermarket pipe and your bike magically gets faster. More power, more torque, better throttle response. Right? Wrong. In most cases, you're paying more for noise and less for actual performance. Here's the truth. Unless your stock exhaust is from the Jurassic era, it's already engineered to balance back pressure, scavenging, emissions, and fuel mapping. Pulling it off and bolting on a shiny straight pipe just throws that balance in the trash. Yeah, you might get a few pounds of weight savings, and yeah, it'll sound louder. But faster? Not unless you're tuning the bike properly. In fact, most bikes run worse with a slip-on or full system installed without a proper remap. You'll lose mid-range torque, cause lean surgeon, or trigger check engine lights from messed up O2 sensor readings. And on modern bikes with closed-loop ECUs, good luck getting meaningful gains without a dyno tune or a fuel controller. Here's the part most riders don't want to hear. Your stock exhaust isn't holding you back. Your right wrist is. Your tire pressure is. Your body position is. Fix those before you start chasing horsepower ghosts through a louder pipe. Now, if you're changing the exhaust for sound, looks, or weight, go for it. Just don't lie to yourself about why you're doing it. And definitely don't expect a 10 horsepower jump because the label on the box says race bred. Noise isn't speed, and not all upgrades are upgrades. Number 9. It's safer to ride in the middle of the lane. This one sounds responsible, safe, logical. Stay in the center, stay predictable, stay seen. It's the kind of advice that gets handed down in beginner courses and written into every bland riding manual. But in real-world riding, it's often the worst place you can be. The middle of the lane is where all the garbage collects. Oil drips, coolant, spilled fuel, gravel, broken glass. It all lands in the center strip where car tires don't roll. On dry roads, it's slippery. In the rain, it becomes a death trap. And if you're riding aggressively or leaning hard through traffic, that greasy center can end your day faster than a distracted driver. On top of that, riding in the center makes it harder to see and be seen. You're directly behind the car's bumper, invisible in the mirrors. You got no line of sight past the car ahead, no real options to escape if something goes wrong. It's the equivalent of riding blindfolded through someone else's wake. The better move? Ride in the left or right third of the lane, depending on visibility, road service, and the traffic around you. You get a better view, you're more likely to be seen, and you can dodge obstacles and threats faster. You still own the lane. You're just using the part that keeps you alive. Center lane riding isn't always wrong, but making it your default because it's safer? That's a myth. And like most safety myths, believing it blindly can put you in more danger than it prevents. Number 10. You should downshift through every gear when stopping. This one gets treated like some kind of sacred riding ritual. You're slowing down for a light or a stop sign, and someone tells you, make sure you click down through every gear as you slow. Why? They'll say it's good technique. They'll say it keeps you in the right gear, that it's what the pros do. Here's a real story. You don't need to downshift through every gear when stopping, especially if you're coming to a full stop. It's not wrong to do it, but it's also not some magical skill that separates real riders from amateurs. The whole point of downshifting through the gears is to stay ready to accelerate. In fast group rides, track days, or aggressive street riding, yeah, keeping the engine in the power band makes sense. But in normal day-to-day traffic, if you're slowing predictably, you can pull in the clutch and coast down in neutral or in a high gear, then click down into first just before stopping. Simple, smooth, and no drama. Forcing yourself to blip and match revs while juggling traffic, potholes, and stop-and-go congestion, that's just unnecessary workload. And it can increase the risk of upsetting the rear wheel if your timing is off or traction's poor. Good riders know when to downshift and when not to. Being in the right gear when stopping isn't about showing off. It's about being ready when you need to go. If you're coming to a clean stop and staying put for a few seconds, there's no shame in clicking to neutral and giving your hand a break. Ride smooth, not theatrical. The motorcycle world is full of myths, some harmless, some straight up dangerous. They get passed around like gospel, repeated in forums, shouted across parking lots, and drilled into beginners who don't know any better. But real riders know better, because with miles comes clarity. And experience has a way of cutting through the crap. Loud pipes don't save lives. 300cc bikes aren't just for beginners. You don't need to downshift through every gear to prove you're skilled. And horsepower means nothing if you can't control it. These aren't just hot takes, they're hard-earned truths. And the sooner we stop repeating bad advice, the safer and better this entire community becomes. So here's a challenge. If you hear one of these myths being thrown around, say something. Not to argue, not to flex, but to help. Because if one rider hears the truth early, it might save them time, money, or even their life. Drop your favorite myth in the comments below. Let's bust them wide open one by one. And if this video made you rethink something you believed, hit that like button, subscribe, and stick around. Because around here, we ride with facts, not folklore. Ride sharp, ride smart, and never ride blind.